this place. Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. Can't wait. Let's go.
Good morning and welcome to Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show here on Sports Empire Network. Happy to have you here watching us, however it is that you may be watching us this morning, whether we are live on YouTube or Facebook or over with Northeast Streaming Sports Productions on Roku TV. As always, I am Chris, and that is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
Doing great, Chris. Doing great. Hey, congratulations to the Las Vegas Aces for winning the WNBA championship, going back-to-back. Congratulations to Asia Wilson being finals MVP. Looks like they're building a dynasty out there in Vegas.
And interesting enough that you bring that up, and I'd love to get your opinion on it. I thought it was really refreshing to see Steph Curry's response a week or two ago when it was announced that the Golden State Warriors are in the works of getting their own WNBA team. I think sometimes we forget the WNBA and NBA connection. And because let's be honest, a lot of NBA guys aren't always talking WNBA. But Mo, I think that's something that the sport needs. I think it needs other known NBA players like a Steph Curry being excited, you know, when they have an expansion team coming to the same town as, you know, a popular NBA team like the Warriors. It's not going to help. It's not going to hurt the sport is what I'm saying.
Not at all. I actually think that the best advocates for the WNBA are NBA players, right? Not the league itself, but if you've got a Steph Curry or a LeBron or a Giannis talking about the WNBA, mentioning the stars and their accomplishments, I think they're the best advocates for that league. And I really think they do a good job of it, but more and more players should get involved in this. Word of mouth is powerful, but it's even more powerful when it's coming from the biggest stars in the world.
The NBA is such a star-driven sport, and it's different than other sports because outside of the quarterback position in the NFL, you can walk past an NFL player in the supermarket and you may not know because the value of their face is not as recognizable. You could walk past a Major League Baseball player, and if it's not Aaron Judge, and it's not Bryce Harper, and it's not Shohei Ohtani, you may not know. There are only a handful of baseball players that you would recognize readily in a public setting if there weren't a flock of people around them. Basketball players are different. You know, even the second tier basketball players aren't walking down their supermarket aisles in their cities. You know, maybe they can in a different city, but they're not doing it in their cities because they have face recognition. And there's value to that. And there is value to that with fans. There is value to that with youth. Look at what Steph Curry has done just with youth basketball players in general. So, like you said, Mo, I totally agree that they are NBA players might be the greatest advocates when it comes. And, you know, the WNBA is never going to be as popular as the NBA. I don't think anyone's thinking it could be or that's even in the cards. But to discredit or to not acknowledge or to not be aware of what that league is doing, it's a disservice to them. And it's a disservice to you as a basketball fan if you're not aware of what's happening over in the WNBA. And like you said, Mo, the Aces are building something, and they are back-to-back champions. And it's a product that is entertaining to watch. And what more can you ask for?
Chris, I would argue when it comes to fundamentals, the fundamentals of basketball, the WNBA product is more fundamentally sound in the way they play the basketball. Like, the ball is moved and it's shot from every area on the court. The NBA game, it's either deep from the outside or it's all the way to the rim. The NBA is copy and paste. Literally right now, the league it's pick and roll or it's pick and pop. But that's where the league is at right now. Whereas the WNBA, they run a lot of sets. They run a lot of different kind of offensives, a lot of pin downs, a lot of movement. It's a very different product. But if you love the game of basketball, it's an entertaining product.
No, for sure. And right now we are going to welcome JG to the show this morning. JG is going to hop on. He's going to talk a little bit of baseball, and he's going to talk a little bit of football with us this morning. Gotta love having JG on the show this morning.
Always.
JG, how are you, sir?
Hey, morning, fellas. Morning.
Morning, JG.
Happy to see you this morning. We're gonna hit the baseball stuff briefly. Obviously, not a lot has changed since we last spoke about it. As you said, the Diamondbacks have quite the uphill battle. They're now down in a 0-2 hole. You think they're going to steal one, or is it going to be the full sweep?
I think they will end up getting at least one game in Arizona. I think it'll probably be game 4. Could I see a sweep in this series? Absolutely. Philadelphia is a machine right now. Diamondbacks seem just overwhelmed by what the Phillies are able to do on the offensive side, but I don't always predict the sweep very much in these series, just because again you can usually bet that a team's going to steal at least one game at home, particularly. So I think this will be at least the case. I think Philadelphia will win game 3. Arizona will win game 4, and then have to go to Philadelphia again for game 5. And that's where they'll close it out at there. Just Philadelphia is just becoming a monster this postseason. They're doing everything. They're doing everything so well. They're pitching very well. They're hitting, the timely hitting, the power hitting. I mean, this is something that it's what postseason play is supposed to be about. And Philadelphia is doing everything they can. So right now, it just seems like it's inevitable. But I think that at least it'll go 5 games, though.
What did you think of Scherzer's performance last night? Obviously, when you bring in a Scherzer or a Verlander, any of these older, successful pitchers, obviously you want some regular season success. But let's be honest, this is what they're here for, right? They're here for big postseason moments. They're here for big postseason spots. And the Rangers had a chance to go up 3-0, which would have been a pretty commanding lead in that series, and they had Scherzer on the mound, and it obviously didn't go the way they wanted it to. So Houston has opened that door, down 2-1 now. What were your thoughts on Scherzer's performance and this series going forward?
I mean, it was expected he was going to be rusty. He was going to be. It's been over a month since he's pitched, and coming off again an arm injury, and that's not the case. So it's not like it was a leg injury or in case of a finger issue that we saw what Max Fried had in the NLDS. It was an arm issue that he had. So you're not expecting crisp. You're not expecting the Max Scherzer that we've seen, and even really at this point of his career, we haven't seen the Max Scherzer what we've seen throughout his career. So Russ was going to be expected. I think they threw. I think the Rangers threw him out there just to say, hey, if we can get a game from you and we can actually win this, it's even better. But it's another way of being able to at least throw him out there, see what he can do, what he can look like, kind of break some rust. Because if you advance, you're going to want him in the World Series as well. So you need at least that outing and be able to go. If you lose it, you're still at home right now. You're still in control of the series. And I know Astros are a really good road team, and they've been they're one of the best road teams in baseball. They're one of the best road teams in the postseason. But you had an opportunity at least to see if you can steal this game with Scherzer on the mound. If you're the Rangers, great. You're up 3-0. If not, you're in good position still. You're still up 2-1. You're at home right now. You still have the advantage now going into game 4. But it was expected he was not going to be crisp. It wasn't going to be, like Scherzer was going to be dealing. He had moments you look at and go, oh, yeah, hey, he still got something. And there's moments where the pass ball and the slider, the changeup was just kind of all over the place, leaving that fastball up to Altuve. Those are moments where that's rust. So I think it was expected. I didn't think that he was going to go 6-7 innings anyway. I think they were going to try to do what he did, was going to go 4 or 5 innings. Kind of limit the pitches to make sure that he can stay in it, and then, go turn into the bullpen from there. Just the Astros jumped ahead. They did what they normally do. They attack early in the game. They put up a few runs and make it a little bit more pressure on your opposing team's offense. So it was I didn't mind the idea of throwing him out there because, again, if you advance and you're in the World Series, you're going to want and you're going to need Max Scherzer in there.
Let's pivot here to the NFL. And JG, obviously you are a former athlete yourself. You have experience as, in that world. You're also a coach. So I wanted to present this narrative, not only JG to you, but Mo as well. So as the Dolphins and Tua find success this season and they're building on the success of last season, and more importantly, as they're putting up the numbers that they're putting up, right? Because they're not just winning games, but they're winning with historical numbers through 6 games, albeit. But it's creating those conversations. It's creating those conversations. Are they the best offense since the Rams, show on turf offense? Where would this offense be at the end of the season? Is it sustainable? Just all those natural questions that come with what they've done through the first 6 games. But also, gentlemen, this narrative has developed in regards to Tua Tagovailoa, and that narrative is, well, if you take Tua out and you put any other quarterback in there that's competent, they're going to have the same success, because it's not necessarily Tua. It is Coach Mike McDaniels. It is Tyreek Hill. It is Jalen Waddle. That's what makes the Dolphins team click. It's not necessarily Tua. Obviously, if Tua just starts throwing interceptions, sure, it's not going to work. But like I said, if you put any decent quarterback in there, they're going to be as successful, if not more successful, than Tua is currently being. And ESPN reporter Joe Schad had an opportunity to sit down with Mike McDaniel earlier this week, and he asked him that question. And McDaniel was visibly frustrated during the interview with the question, not so much at Schad, but because of the narrative that's developing around Tua. And obviously, he's going to defend his quarterback. He didn't do anything that we didn't think he would do in that situation. Him and Tua have a really great relationship that's been reported by them and others in the organization. But he tried to get into the X's and O's a little bit of it, and he tried to do it in a respectful way, without kind of insulting any other quarterbacks or anything like that. And basically what Mike McDaniel tried to explain is that although his offense would work for other quarterbacks, and although he thinks that other quarterbacks would have success in Miami, he really tried to focus on the fact that he takes the 5 or 6 things that he thinks that Tua does exceptionally well, and he's built his offense specifically around those things. And he didn't shy away from the fact of saying that, no, he doesn't believe that if you took any other quarterback in the NFL and you plugged them in and didn't change anything and just gave them time to learn the offense and you kept everything else the same, he was very straightforward in saying, no, they wouldn't be as successful as Tua, because they're going to have different nuances and a different skill set. And there's going to be things that they do worse or they do better than Tua does. So it's not going to be that way. It's not as simple as plugging and playing and you're going to get the same result. And before I turn it over to you guys, I will point out we do have a small case study with this. Tua was injured last year. We saw Teddy Bridgewater play. We saw Skylar Thompson play. And while Skylar Thompson probably isn't on the same level as Tua is, there were a lot of people last year that thought Teddy Bridgewater was. And you saw Teddy Bridgewater step into that offense, an offense that he knew, an offense that he practiced with every day. It did not look the same. You've seen Mike White, who has been there since the end of last year. They got him early in the offseason. He's come in mop-up duty a few times, and they've allowed him to throw the ball. It hasn't looked great. Yeah, he had a touchdown the first time he came in his mop-up duty. The second time he came in, he threw a pick 6 early in the fourth quarter, and he didn't throw the ball again. That was the end for Mike White throwing the ball, in mop-up duty. So, Mo, I'll start with you. You've seen great offenses, and you've seen the Dolphins offense, and you've seen quarterbacks pop in and out of things. What is your initial take on the media narrative that while what Tua is doing is great, it's nice, but this is more about the coach and the pieces and not necessarily QB1?
Well, the offense is tailored to Tua's skill sets. If you're a good offensive coordinator, a good head coach, you set your guys up for success by elevating the things they do best. I used to hear this narrative before, and maybe JG could speak to this. Many times I've heard people say, Sean Payton, the way he's coaching Drew Brees up, anybody in that offense. That wasn't the case. Drew Brees was a great quarterback, and that offense was about timing. It was about hitting receivers before they turned for their breaks. The ball was right there. Every quarterback could not do that. Drew Brees did that. That was about Drew Brees. Yes, Sean Payton impacted him because he set him up for success and he designed the offense, but that was about Brees. I think people are overlooking the fact that Tua is a very accurate passer. He reads and diagnoses defenses very, very well, and he gets rid of the ball extremely quick. Everybody can't do what he does. So I totally disagree with that narrative. I think they're underestimating his value to that team and what he does for that offense. Yes, Tyreek Hill and Waddle are explosive. Both can take a 5-yard pass and go 80 yards with it. But I've seen many times where Tua's hung the ball in the air 35 yards and hit them on a rope in stride. So to say that anybody could run that offense, I completely disagree with that narrative. I think people are underestimating Tua's arm talent and his quarterback acumen.
JG, the comp that some analysts have given to Tua, and it's more out of respect and just size comparison, arm strength comparison, and accuracy comparison. The comp he gets most often is that to Drew Brees. And whenever that comp is made, it's always the follow-up of, we're not saying he's Drew Brees. We're just saying that he does Drew Brees-esque thing within his skill set. So, Moa, it's interesting that you would kind of compare this situation to Drew Brees. So, JG, what is your take on what Mo said, as well as the national narrative that it's not really Tua, guys? We could put someone else in there if we needed to.
No, I think we're seeing that actually right now with Sean Payton in Denver, who, again, a quarterback that a lot of the media and a lot of people are always talking about how high they are on Russell Wilson until now we're really seeing another year of Russell Wilson struggle. But for so long, when Sean went to Denver, it was, oh my God, he's gonna fix Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson is gonna be just like Drew Brees, and the Denver Broncos is gonna be like the New Orleans offense of 2011. This is gonna be amazing to watch, and yet we see that's not the case. Again, Drew Brees, and that is a good comparison as far as with Tua because of how he's playing and how he is reacting into the offense. But Drew Brees, being able to watch Drew for 15 years in New Orleans, Drew didn't have the elite arm. He didn't have the elite, movement or anything like the physical side of it. But my goodness, you're talking about someone who was was cerebral to the game. He was dissecting plays, be able to just understand and be so smart and so intelligent at the game. Tua was getting to that point. And I think what I agree with what Mo said, and I disagree with the narrative about putting a quarterback picking a quarterback and throwing him into Mike McDaniel's offense. It has to be tailored. Like I said, it has to be tailored to what he can do best. This is what, as he said, offenses and offensive coordinators have to say, okay, what do I have with my quarterback? What does he do? What does he do best, and what does he do worse? And if this is the case, how do we get the best out of him more times than not? Well, for Tua, it is his quickness in his release. It is be able to say, read and react and move and go. Well, that's why we see, every so often we see a lot more short passes, quick screens, because one, you have Tyreek Hill, 4.3 40, Jalen Waddle, 4.3 40, Devon Achane, 4.3 40, Raheem Mostert, 4.3 40. You have guys that are out there that just run. So why not put them in space and then say, all right, now, hey, turn a 5-yard catch into a 20-yard, 30-yard gain. And then when we suck them in, the defense in, okay, now, hey, Tua, all you got to do is throw the ball within 5 yards of them downfield, on a 30-yard route. Throw it within 5 yards. They'll make the adjustment, which we've seen them do. They make the adjustment, make the catch, and it's a touchdown from there. So all McDaniel's doing is tailoring the offense around Tua. I don't think you can pick a quarterback out of there and say, hey, go play this offense right now. Because if you pick a quarterback, let's say, throw it out there, Geno Smith. If you take Geno Smith off of Seattle and put him in Miami, well, guess what? McDaniel has to change the offense around what Geno does best. That's what good offensive coordinators do. So it's not going to be the same offense. It will not be the same offense, and it cannot be the same offense. So being able to say this offense of what Tua's doing right now and what he's excelling in, and you take a quarterback and you put him in this offense, which is tailored for Tua. No, I cannot agree that any quarterback would succeed with what they're doing right now. He has to change it to the what the quarterback he has, and that's what makes McDaniel really good. because he has had to do that. He's taken the offense. He had Jimmy Garoppolo, as an offensive coordinator. He had Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. The offense that they were running with Shanahan is not necessarily the same offense that McDaniel's running in Miami. It's a whole different offense. So that alone itself right there tells you this is strictly built for Tua and only Tua. And it's, again, throw an elite quarterback out there. If you had Pat Mahomes in Miami, McDaniel's smart enough to know, all right, well, I'm going to change the offense a little bit more to make sure it's for Pat Mahomes. You can't just plug and play. A good offensive coordinator will never just say, all right, I'm going to keep my offense no matter who the quarterback is. It doesn't work that way.
No, and I agree with both of you. And Pat Mahomes is a great example. If you look at when Patrick Mahomes is the best, Patrick Mahomes takes when things start to break down and don't go the way they were scripted to go, Patrick Mahomes becomes magic, right? The off-scripted plays, the off-timing plays, when he has to move, 6 steps to the left, 6 steps to the right, that's when he makes things happen. Look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen, a lot of his highlight plays, a lot of those when he puts the cape on, it's because he's making things happen when things didn't go like they were supposed to initially. So he had a play against whoever they played last week where they're down there at the 15 or the 20-yard line, and he's running around the pocket. Like he's taking 6 steps up, 4 steps back, and he's basically running in a circle for, 5 or 6 seconds before he rolls out and just throws an absolute rope to a tight end who's never caught a pass this season for a touchdown. That's Josh Allen at his best. Those two things wouldn't necessarily happen in this offense because the offense isn't built for those things to happen. Mike McDaniel doesn't rely or doesn't require Tua to do those things. One reason being because Mike McDaniel probably knows that isn't Tua's strength. He knows that if Tua is being asked to run around and buy time for 6, 7, 8 seconds and find people downfield, he isn't going to be the most successful doing that. And that's not a knock on Tua. That's simply saying, what are you good at? And what would I prefer you not to do? Because when you're running around and looking for people down the field, if you're only going to be successful 30% of the time, but when you're doing the other thing, you're going to be successful 85% of the time, we're going to do the other thing. That's all. That's just what we're going to do. So do I think another quarterback like an Allen or a Mahomes would have success with Mike McDaniel? Absolutely. But to JG's point, their success would look different than Tua's success because the offense is going to look different than what they're running with Tua. And that's the part that I think football fans kind of get confused about a little, and that's okay. Gene's in the chat this morning. Gene said, are you nervous at all about Tua's health going up against a very good Eagles defensive line? This is another narrative that rightfully so coming into the season. Tua's health has always been a big question. Obviously, he is prone to concussions. I think that is fair to say. So anyone that had the concussion history that Tua had last season, you have to always have it in the back of your mind. Any potential big hit, or even doesn't look like a big hit, could lead to a concussion. But for me personally, Gene, as a fan, it's one of those things where I look at it as it is what it is. I've seen Tua take a couple of big hits this season and be perfectly fine. I've also seen Tua take not really big hits last season and get a concussion. I mean, in that Buffalo game last season, it wasn't even a hit. He got pushed. He was backpedaling in the pocket, and the defensive end came up and put 2 hands on his chest and simply pushed him backwards onto his butt, and his head hit the turf. Concussion. Like, it wasn't even a big hit that he took. So am I necessarily, do I have concussions or am I nervous about Tua's health going into the Eagles game? No, not really. I think that the Dolphins offensive line has done a decent job of protecting Tua this season. I think the Dolphins realize that the Eagles have a really great defense. And I think that Mike McDaniels is going to scheme to make sure that that ball is getting out quick and that they are doing some things to give Tua the needed time back there. So I'm not necessarily concerned about his health going into the Eagles game. I have a couple of other concerns, but about his health, no. And I get it. I get it, Gene. I get that the line is ferocious, but we'll see what Sunday night brings. I will tell you, Tua hasn't got hit a lot this season. So we'll see. And even against a good defense in Buffalo, a defense that, held Miami to 20 points, a game that Miami lost, Tua didn't necessarily get popped a lot in that game. He made decisions to get the ball out of his hand quickly. Obviously, when you have a good defense and they're getting pressure, it's going to alter what the offense does. And that's what happened in Buffalo. The defense overwhelmed the offensive line at times, and Tua wasn't able to hit some of the things that he wanted to hit. And that could very well happen in Philadelphia. But as far as me being worried health-wise, I think I am okay as far as that is concerned going into the game on Sunday. But, Mo, I'll give you a chance to talk about that. What are your thoughts? Not necessarily a prediction, but just with Tua and his concussion history going against a very good Eagles defense.
So I'll be consistent. Like I've always said, if Tua's upright going into the playoffs, I love the Dolphins' chances of being in the AFC Championship game. So the injury thing can happen against any team. But let's agree, yes, Philly has an elite defense, but I think the best way you attack a defense like Philly is a lot of short crossing routes. So I expect Tua, who already gets the ball out very fast, to get it out even quicker. So I think the strategy is they will dink and dunk a lot and hoping that Hill or Waddle can turn a 5-yarder into a 25-yarder. That's the way they plan on attacking Philly. So the question is, can they get to him fast enough? More times than not this season, he's not taking the big hits. And he's doing something that we talked about too, Chris. When it's not there, he's throwing the ball away. He's throwing the ball away, avoiding the hit, living to play another down. Sometimes you go 3 and out, and that's okay. Better to go 3 and out than to try to make something that's not there and take a big hit and not play at all. So I'm not concerned about it any more than I am week to week with him, but I trust the way that offensive line protects him, and I trust his own clock because he's got a really good internal clock. He's getting rid of the ball really fast. So he's going to take some hits against Philly. Will he take a big hit? Remains to be seen.
What do you think, JG?
I mean, I agree. I think what you have to do for Miami is you're gonna have to find a way to get your skill guys. You're gonna have to get Hill, and it's gonna be Hill and Waddle. I think they're gonna putting Slay on Hill is gonna be very factor. And again, I know not everybody can run with Hill, but Slay's gonna do a good job at least to cover Hill. So it's gonna be on Jalen Waddle to have to really separate himself because the weakness of the defense with the Eagles is the secondary. There's not. I mean, besides Slay. And I believe Bradbury, if I'm Jim, please tell me if I'm wrong on that one. I think Bradbury is still in Philadelphia. But the safeties are the weak point of this team, where if you can get your ability to match up and be able to put Waddle in open space with Hill having to have Slay on him, you can take advantage of what this defense is. But at the end of the day, you can't sit back there. This, as you said, this defensive line is absolutely disgusting on how good they are. Jalen Carter being an up and coming star as a D tackle. This is something that you're going to have to be quick, get space, crossing routes and under routes, slants, and just try to get them in 5 to 6 yards of space and be able to make them make plays from there. And if you can, like I said, like Mo said, if you can get a 5-yard pass and turn it into 20 yards, you're going to move. That's what they do. This is what this offense does. They just rely on their speed so much and be able to, turn small gains into big gains. And if they can do that against the secondary, then they're going to have a good chance to be able to do it. But if they try to have Tua sit back there for 3, 4, 5 seconds, it ain't going to work. Tua, as we've seen, and this is kind of the point I was going to say a little bit ago. And I know it's been a few years, but go back to the college at Alabama. And again, he had a great offensive line at Alabama, but there was times when he was pressured and you had to make him move around. The decision making wasn't always great, and he at times panicked. And you throw in the injury history, and I know the concussions is what we're talking about more so because of the severity of it. But do we forget that he had a major hip injury in college too, that the mobility isn't as great as it was at one point? So if you can push him out of the pocket and make him move, you can take him off his spot. You control Tua Tagovailoa a lot more than let him be in the pocket, sit for 2 to 3 seconds, and have him be able to process from there. But if you can pressure him up the middle, and that's where Jalen Carter is going to be your big factor, I think, which they have, we're going to see that being the case again, the SEC boys going back and forth with each other. But if Carter can pressure up the middle, if Fletcher, and I know Fletcher's been dealing with some injury history here and there recently, but if you can push him up the middle and get him off his spot and try to make him outside the pocket, you control to a whole lot more. LSU, and I know it was such a high-scoring game in 2019, but LSU pressured him up the middle a lot and got him off his spot, and they made mistakes. And if you can do that with Tua, still, it's been that way in the NFL. It hasn't changed for him in that part, that if you got to go up the middle with it. So if you can, you control the offense a whole lot more and be able to get him out of his rhythm. That's what this offense is about rhythm. That's why it's such a quick and go, quick and go, quick and go, quick and go. Make them make time, and then you can put up control. You can control Tua, and if you control Tua, you control that offense in Miami.
The one thing I will say about Tua, looking at him this year compared to last year, and it's funny because, with Tua last year, one of the biggest knocks on him was he holds the ball too damn long. I mean, last year, Tua was the guy that would hold the ball till the very last second because he wants to make a play. And then more often than not, JG, what would happen is he would either make a poor play because he's holding it too long, or he would eventually throw it away and then he'd get popped because he's throwing it away as he's getting absolutely destroyed. And it happened game 1 this season for Tua. He rolled out to his left and it wasn't there, and he just spiked the ball into the ground. And he's done that a handful of times this season where he's rolled out and what he thought was going to be there or what should have been there wasn't there for whatever reason, and he just spikes the ball into the ground. And I think the reason he is so comfortable doing that this season, a couple of reasons. One, obviously, the concussions and the health stuff has forced him to change his game. But 2, if you look at the Dolphins' success and their average yards per play, 3rd and 10 doesn't scare Tua Tagovailoa. 3rd and 10 doesn't scare Mike McDaniel. They're a big play offense. And throwing it into the ground on 1st down means nothing for them. They don't feel that, it's a wasted opportunity and now there's pressure on them they don't feel that way. They just say, okay, let's go pull another one out of our hat and let's get another big play and let's go, because that's what most of their plays are designed to do in the passing game. I think everything they do in the passing game, they're thinking it's going to be, somewhere 6 to 12 yards, if not more. So when you have that kind of mindset on offense, it makes you more comfortable to say, I can give up on this play and go back to 2nd down and we're fine to go again. And, JJ, I'd love to hear your perspective on that, because it's different when when the mindset is we need to get to 2nd and 5. And then we need to be at 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, because if we're at 3rd and 6, it's not going to happen. Like, that's a different mindset. When you can go out there and you can be like, I don't care if it's 2nd and 10, that's fine. We'll go out there and call another play. It makes it easier to throw the ball away. Yes?
It does. It absolutely does. And that's credit to McDaniel, who's putting it into his head and go, a lot of teams will panic being 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. A lot of teams will panic on that. He's just telling Tua, you see the weapons you have? You can throw as we said, we can do a screen pass to Tyreek and it's going to go for 20 yards. So we don't need to panic if it's 3rd and long. So what? We have play. He goes, I got plays that will get you 10, 11, 12 yards where you don't have to do too much. So it's credit to McDaniel for controlling Tua to not panic if it's 3rd and long. So we see that all the time. We've all watched football. We see coaches and quarterbacks 3rd and long at times in certain parts of the game, they will panic and try to do too much and try to go over the top and try to get 30 yards on a play instead of just saying, you know what, we'll take what we can get. If we're able to pick up the 1st down, great. If not, okay. We know we're going to we'll restart next drive and we'll go from there, because they know as well, being down 14-0 to Carolina in the 1st quarter, what happened? They put 21 in the 2nd quarter. It was just in a blink of an eye. It was that quick. So there's no reason to panic for that offense, because they know, hey, we're okay. So one drive, we didn't really do anything. Okay, so we'll come back and make an adjustment, and we're going to go and score the next drive. They literally think that way. Oh, I mean, cool. Joe Cool McDaniel is basically what I call him, because it's just you can't tell there's any stress on him during a game. He's just like, yeah, okay, hey, they stopped us. All right, we're gonna come sit down, let's talk, and let's go over what we're gonna do. And then the next drive, we're gonna do 5 plays, scoring 5 plays, 73 yards, and we're gonna score a touchdown. That's just how they are. So what's the reason to panic if it's 3rd and long? because they know once they reset and they get the ball back, whether it's, they give up points or they get a punt on defense. All right, we reset. Now we're going to go and be able to do this, and we're going to score our own points. So credit McDaniel controlling Tua. That's the key for that aspect and saying, if you throw a ball away and it's 3rd and 10 coming up, who cares? Because you have so many weapons that, again, all you got to do is throw for a 5-yard pass, and it may go 10 yards, it may go 20 yards, or it may go 6 yards and we punt. It's not a big deal.
Tonight we have Thursday night football. We have who do we have tonight? We have the Jaguars and we have the Saints tonight. The Jaguars are going down to New Orleans. Mo, little bit of a preview here. Who do you like? The Jaguars are 4-2. They are leading their division, but the Colts are 3-3 in that division. You have the Texans who are 3-3, so they got some teams coming up behind them. Then on the other side, you got New Orleans playing at home at 500. We all know how great their division is. They're right in the thick of it with the Buccaneers and the Falcons. So as far as early division battles go, both of these games are pretty important because both of these teams are right in the thick of taking their early division leads. Who do you like tonight, Mo?
Most people are probably going to go Jags. I'm going with the Saints. I think this is a nationally televised game. This is prime time. This is a big game for both teams, but I think the Saints, they're going to put on a better showing than what we saw the last time they were on the field. I think that defense is going to be ferocious. I think the offense will be more aggressive. I just think that both sides of the ball, you're going to get a better effort from the Saints. And when they're playing their best at their premium, especially that defense, they can shut down any offense. The pressure to me coming into this game is on Jacksonville because a lot of people are thinking, are they the real deal? They're expected to win that division, but I don't think it's a lock. And Trevor Lawrence has been, I would say he's been solid, but he's not been spectacular. I think coming into New Orleans with that ruckus crowd, with that Saints defense and that pride, I think the Saints are going to put on a defensive show.
Both of these teams, JG, have been up and down this season. We've seen Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville played a amazing half of football against Buffalo a couple of weeks ago in London. And you're looking at Lawrence like, okay, Lawrence, this is what you're supposed to be. And then Jacksonville's had halves where you're like, what? They can't even get out of their own way. Similar stuff is happening over in New Orleans. At times, I mean, the consistent thing with New Orleans has been their defense, I would say. But at times, their offense is humming, and it looks like, they're building rapport and they're developing and they're taking that next step. And then there's times in New Orleans where you're like, why can't we do the simple things on offense to get ourselves out of the gate? So you're looking at two fairly inconsistent teams early in the season, which happens sometimes. But, JG, what are you thinking tonight? Because Jacksonville, although I don't think they have as good of a defense as the Saints, they do have a middle-of-the-pack defense. It's not like you're playing a bottom feeder defensively tonight. So, it's not going to be a walk in the park for the Saints offense. Are the Saints going to have enough offense to take care of the Jacksonville defense? Because you would have to imagine the Saints defense is going to be fine tonight. So it isn't going to kind of come down to what the Saints offense can do?
In a way it is. And the hard part for this offense is going to be you don't have Ryan Ramczyk. He's been ruled out. Your starting right tackle. James Hurst, who he moved back to starting tackle on the left side. He's been ruled out. Your swing tackle, Landon Young, he's out. So your offensive line is already in shambles going into this game, and that's a problem. And you throw in the fact that your leader on the defense, or one of your leaders on the defense, DeMario Davis, Cam Jordan, and Tyrann Mathieu. So really all three of your leaders on that defense have been on the injury report, and they're questionable. The two of them are questionable for tonight as well. So a lot of injuries that have been hit this team, going into a short week. Not a very good thing that you really want to see at any point in the season, let alone a Thursday night game against a playoff caliber team. My focus, I'm going to be on for the offensive side is Pete Carmichael is calling plays for his job right now. This offense has not been what it's supposed to be about. We have expected better. And really, we had better offensive numbers last year with Andy Dalton at quarterback than what we do right now with a better quarterback in Derek Carr. And I'm sitting here saying Derek Carr is a better quarterback than Andy Dalton. That's a fact. But it's inexcusable for this offense to be stalling as much as it is, and really running incompetently that you have ran so far, where you had duds against Houston. You had a second half dud, and I get Derek Carr getting hurt in Green Bay, but it was a second half dud as well. And it wasn't really even a great offensive showing in the first half against Green Bay. You had a dud game against Tampa Bay as well at home. So what has shown me, for this offense to be comfortable and confident going in, I don't have that right now, because Pete Carmichael has got to coach for his job. And this is the time where a change could happen if you have a very bad offensive game. Another one with a 10-day layoff between games, a firing can happen tomorrow. And I think that's expected if you don't have a good game. So right now, Dennis Allen has to show control as a head coach. He has to show it right now, because that's the thing, he hasn't. And then I said this to some people I talked to. On defensive side of the ball, Dennis Allen, who is a great defensive coordinator, he has his guys with him that he chose and picked for his staff on the defensive side. On the offensive side, it's still Sean Payton guys. It's still Sean Payton's system. It's still Sean Payton basically running the offense without Sean Payton there. It is not his side of the ball. It's not Dennis Allen who's controlling that. That does show on Dennis Allen not being able to take control of this team as much as as you would hope a head coach has. So the offensive side, I'm watching Pete Carmichael call plays and doing things that we have expected as Saints fans to expect with this offense when you have Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Jimmy Graham, who's back. I know Jimmy's not the same player he was back in 2011, 2012, but he still can be a valuable option if in the red zone particularly. And we had opportunities in the red zone last week against Houston. And Jimmy Graham, who's your 6'7" tight end, was nowhere to be found on the field. That doesn't make any sense to me. So Pete Carmichael is coaching for his job as a play caller and as an offensive coordinator this week and today. And if it doesn't happen in front of the home crowd, I think a change is going to happen. If that's the case, you could see a change in head coach at the end of the season too, because this is supposed to be as weak as this division is. And you're telling you brought moves in to be a contender, not just for the NFC South. You made moves again, bringing in Derek Carr with the players you have, the defense you have. You were supposed to be a contender for the NFC, and you are falling flat and falling short. You lose tonight against Jacksonville, you fall 3-4. Changes have to be made. The first domino, I think, will be Pete Carmichael, and if things continue to snowball downhill from there, Dennis Allen could be next at the end of the season.
Hey, JG, real quick, what's the situation with Michael Thomas? Is he 100%, or is he still just working his way back?
I think he's as close to 100% as you're going to be with someone who's had 3 or 4 ankle surgeries. The body does, after so many times, the body doesn't heal. It just doesn't. It almost calluses over, and that's kind of what we've seen. So is he healthy? I think he's healthy to what he's going to be now. He's not going to be the same player we saw in 2019. I think those days are days are done.
Maybe that's the question I was asking. Can he still be, I think you've already answered it, can he still be a top-level impactful wide receiver, or at this point, because of the body breaking down, he's more in a support role now?
He's more of a support role where we see him passing the torch. Chris Olave. This is Chris Olave's team as a receiver. He's the number 1. Rashid Shaheed is the number 2. And you have Thomas being basically the third option in a middle of the field short route. Again, throwing slants, in routes, out routes, just something within 5 to 12 yards is what you're going to need. You're going to be able to utilize Thomas better and be able to say, hey, our big play options, our ball control options, Olave with the speed option of Shaheed. Those are the weapons. But Thomas is a number 3 now. I think you cannot trust Thomas to make the plays that he did, 4 years ago, 5 years ago when he came into the league. I think those days are done. Just he can't move as well. He can say he's healthy, but we all understand having injuries myself. The more injuries you've had on one body part, because I've had shoulder surgery. I've had shoulder surgery once, but I injured my shoulder 3 different times. It doesn't just get better. It can get close to 100%, but it'll never be 100% again. So, and that's what we're seeing with the ankle. Again, how many surgeries he's had at least 3 or 4 surgeries on that ankle. And he even said at the beginning of the season or in training camp, one of the surgeries didn't take. The body rejected the surgery. It rejected the equipment they put in. So that means another surgery was needed to change out the equipment and be able to get the ankle to heal. Which, guess what? It doesn't happen. It doesn't heal. It is like it's supposed to at that point. It can only heal to a certain level. And that's what we're seeing right now. It's just that he is limited to his skill set today. Does he still have great hands? Absolutely still has great hands. But can we expect him to run like he used to about 4 years ago? Absolutely not. No. So understanding and tailoring the offense. And that's, again, going back to Carmichael. Why is that? If that's the case, and I know we're trying to hope that Thomas is healthy enough to do what he used to do, but you should be able. You're around him so much, you should know there's no reason for Michael Thomas to be on go routes. There's no reason for Thomas to run post routes. Put him in 5 to 10 yards, 5 to 12 yard routes, in routes, out routes, slants, and let him be able to be matchup. Put him in the slot more. Put him and try to get a safety or a linebacker, and he can body those guys up. And be able to get enough separation to be able to make the catch. But he should never be running go routes, especially when you have 2 receivers who run 4.3 40s in Olave and Shaheed. Let them be their speed guys and use Thomas in a way that Marcus Colston was used early, in the early 2000s, in the mid to late 2000s. Colston was not a speed guy. Colston was a straight possession receiver that used his size to gain separation and make
a great possession receiver.
And absolutely. And you had guys like Devery Henderson and Robert Meacham, who were the speed guys in those offenses in the 2009 offense, the 2009 Super Bowl champion offense. You had the speed guys to complement Colston. Well, guess what? You have the same thing right now. You have the big body receiver in Thomas, possession receiver, and you have the 2 speed guys in Olave and Shaheed. Run the offense like how they were able to execute back then and put them in positions to succeed that way. But we're still trying to let Thomas run go routes. We're letting Thomas run the whole route tree. No, let him run the tree that he can only run and let the other 2 receivers run the tree that they're supposed to be running. You can utilize them that way. Create matchups, create mismatches to be able to do so. And that's where, again, Carmichael has not done very well on.
JG, always a pleasure to have you here on the morning show with us. We'll see JG back here on the morning show next week. Have a good weekend, sir.
Thanks for the knowledge, JG.
Hey, as always, guys, appreciate it.
All right, Mo, we're going to take a quick break here on Coffee and Sports, the morning show. When we get back on the other side, we are going to wrap up the show with some basketball talk. We got some James Harden news happening.
Oh, wow.
And we're also going to talk about the injury news with the Colts and a few other items right on the other side of the break. Make sure you stick with us. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show here on Sports Empire Network.
What's up, everybody? It's Cottrell Simpson with Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, where we're going to cover all things breaking news, sports related. We're going to preview games, and we're also going to give you our reaction to the games that have happened before. You can catch us on Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And if you miss us there, no worries. You can also catch us on Roku with Northeast Streaming Sports Productions from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Hey, and listen, if you're not into all sports and just NFL, we have Sideline to Sideline. That's on Thursday nights from 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 8 p.m. We'll break down the NFL week, the Thursday night game, and we'll preview all NFL action.
And if you're like me and college football is your fix, tune in every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for Coast to Coast College Football pregame show. We'll review the previous week's action, the day's biggest games. We'll give you our pick'ems, and we'll even give you some teams that are on upset alert.
And if you don't catch us live, you can download us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We do also have a YouTube station, Wire to Wire Sports Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome back here, Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show with Chris and Mo. And Mo, we knew that James Harden, we knew it was eventually going to come to a boiling point. We saw he was going to come to training camp. We saw he was going to come to practices. We saw he was going to partake in the preseason. And we said, that sounds great. It's great he's saying those things, but it doesn't change the fact that he doesn't want to be there. And here we are, as we're moving through the preseason, and it's already reached, it looks like its first hurdle, if you will. Harden is not with the team currently. He is not coming to practices as of right now. He has not been with the team apparently since, the end of the weekend or the earlier part of this week. And the team doesn't really seem to know why. Now, Mo, the first thing I want to point out is, why do we know this? Oh, because the team's telling us. The team is telling us that James Harden's not with the team, and they don't really know why he's not with the team. And then the team even went one step further, and they outlined for us how they're going to discipline James Harden. They said that, listen, we're going to wait until he explains to us why he's not here. And once he explains to us why he's not here, then we will decide what his discipline is. Mo, first of all, we don't care about your discipline process. It's like the pilot telling you all the moves we're going to make in the air as we're just get us from point A to point B and don't crash the plane. We don't need to know what you're doing up there. Just fly the plane.
I never want to know.
Right. If you're going to discipline James Harden or you're not going to discipline James Harden, we don't care. Either do it or don't do it. But we know why he's not there. He doesn't want to be there. And he probably woke up on Saturday or Sunday and was like, you know what? I'm still mad. And now he's showing it. That's why he's not there. And then on top of that, you have Morey come out a few days later and blame the Clippers for the reason James Harden is still with the 76ers, because the Clippers aren't doing their job to get the deal done. Mo, what the hell is going on?
Right. So what Daryl Morey is saying is the Clippers aren't giving us everything that we want. They're not giving us all their first-round picks, all their second-round picks, and some players. They're not going to do that. I think my problem with Daryl Morey is, for a strange reason, because he undervalues James Harden because he didn't want to give him the extension, obviously, right? That's the biggest gripe. But at the same time, in trying to deal James Harden, he's overvaluing him. There's not a huge market out there for a 33-year-old ball-dominant point guard. There really isn't. And there are very few teams that are remotely interested in his services because he has a unique skill set. And with his baggage, you need a front office and a coaching staff with strong leadership, because he brings a lot of baggage to wherever he goes, right? The idea that Daryl Morey, if the Clippers, if the offer, what they put out on the table is their real offer, that should have been made. That deal should have been made yesterday. But I'm with you. I'm exhausted at the Sixers constantly putting it out there. We're going to discipline him. The funniest part, though, was when James gets here and he explains what's going on. Once he explains, he's in for it. Like they're going to send him to the corner or something after he tells them what happened. Do you really think at this point, with everything that's going on, he's worried about the discipline factor? My guess is he's not coming back anytime soon. I think you hit it on the head. He woke up one day and literally said, you know what? I'm trying to do the right thing, but I'm actually still mad. I'm still mad. I still believe, and I think most people common sense believe, Daryl Morey and James Harden had a conversation. And he said, if you opt into that deal, it will give me more time and we can negotiate an extension. It's the only reason that makes sense that he would do that. And then Daryl Morey turned around, or maybe somebody above Daryl Morey said, we're not giving James a max extension. And then Daryl Morey had to go back and tell James, it's not going to happen. And James said, well, you're a liar. Then you're a liar because you told me what I needed to do and how we could go about handling this. Nobody in this situation, be it management with Daryl Morey or James Harden, nobody in this situation has clean hands. And I've heard people reference this to a marriage. I know Harden did it. I've heard other pundits, Nick Wright, do it. And it's been, let's say this, if it's a marriage, it's been deceitful on both sides. And the sooner they break this up or they walk away, maybe they just need to agree to separate. Maybe separate. Because clearly the working conditions between Daryl Morey, not to mention they've got a new coach, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a brand new coach. He's implementing a new system, and you have no clue if this guy's going to be even part of your roster or not. And to me, if you're a general manager, you're setting your new coach up for failure by letting this linger. It makes no sense.
I almost see Daryl Morey playing the role of the father when the teenage daughter comes home late And, James Harden walks into the facility and the locker room's dark and he turns the light on and there's Maury sitting in the chair. Just waiting to have the conversation. Where you been, James?
You been? Right. Do you know what time it is?
Right.
You know what time it is?
You were supposed to be here since last weekend, sir.
Right. I had to tell Joel and Maxie to go home. They were waiting on you. It's getting that comical, and it shouldn't be. The season, I believe, literally starts next week.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. Right around the corner.
And they are in disarray right now as an organization.
We got quarterback news coming out of the NFL yesterday, Mo. Unfortunately, it's something that we talked about and something that was being speculated as being fact, and it was confirmed yesterday. The shoulder surgery that was required for Anthony Richardson is indeed going to be season-ending. So the Colts will be without their rookie starting quarterback for the rest of the season. There is no indication. I think everything the Colts said yesterday was that they were rolling with their backup. And it looks like that's probably what's going to happen. I would have to imagine, behind the scenes, they're kicking the tires to see if there is anything else out there that makes sense for them. Again, this is a team that is 3-3 with up and down quarterback play from both of their quarterbacks because both have been in and out of the lineup through their first 6 games of the season. So it'll be interesting to see if Indy decides to make any move heading into the trade deadline. Obviously, Kirk Cousins was a name that we threw out there, but I'm sure that there might be other possibilities available, not discrediting Gardner Minshew. It's very possible he could steady the ship and, win 7 or 8 games, maybe 9 games with them. I don't know. He's capable. But like we said yesterday, if a guy like Kirk Cousins is an option, I would explore it just because he is a tier above Gardner. And if you think this team could sneak into a wild card, and it's not out of the realm of possibility when you're sitting at 3-3 right now, and you're only a game out of the division. Let's not, discredit that either. So we'll see what they do moving forward. And then the other quarterback news from yesterday, Mo, Kyler is back. Kyler Murray is back practicing with the Arizona Cardinals. His 21-day window to return to the team and retake his position as the starting quarterback has begun. But Mo, as we close out the show, 30 seconds here before we go into our closing here, does it matter? Does Kyler move the needle that much once he retakes the starting role? Because there's not a lot on that offensive side as it is. I think the quarterback play overall might be a little better, but what do you think how much is the needle going to move with Kyler back in there?
Will it change wins and losses? It will not. It will not change wins and losses. And I know we're 6 games in, but this is one of those moments where you're like, well, if he's not your future, then you want him healthy because you might want to make a move. And a good selling point is a healthy Kyler Murray if you're looking to get that number 1 pick and get another franchise quarterback. So I don't think it benefits you to play him because he's also very injury prone. And look, what if he lucks up and have a couple of great games? Then you win a couple more games than you were expecting to win. That kind of hurts you when you're looking at those draft picks. But I think big picture, they're looking to move on from him. They're doing a full rebuild.
And Mo, let me ask you this, and we only got a few seconds. Could they trade him? Could a team come in and be like, hey, show us the medicals. If he's healthy, you're in a great position to draft a quarterback next year. You don't want Kyler coming in here and winning you 3 or 4 games because that could hurt you. So maybe that's an option as well, right?
I think that's definitely on the table because there's no shortage. There's no shortage of teams right now in the league who need quarterbacks.
Great show today, Mo. Always great having JG here on with us. Take us to the close.
Hey, thanks everybody for listening. Share us, smash that like button. Check out all the great content that we offer to you on Sports Empire Network. Check us out tomorrow. It's Chris and Mo on the morning show. Check out the Empire.
Same time, same place tomorrow, Mo. We are breaking down everything that is happening this weekend in the NFL. Make sure you join us for our picks right here tomorrow. Like Mo said, it's Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show, and we'll see you tomorrow.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
All
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, you guys any